Welcome to Beauty Revival. Thank you so much for checking out my channel. If you're new here from Kjersti Flaa, I want to welcome you specifically. I was just on her show on Friday, which is my birthday. So I was thinking, why not do a little birthday episode and talk about some of the triggering things that come up on birthdays. And hopefully you can get to know me a little bit better. And for my own followers that are already subscribing to Beauty Revival, most of my episodes to this point have been audio only. So my first video was with Kaylee O'Kelly, who's a good friend of mine that's a news anchor. And then my second one was with Kjersti. So I just did want to preface, because it does segue into some of the other stuff I'm going to talk about. When I was on Kjersti's show, she has a channel called Flaawsome Talk. She's a celebrity reporter. If you don't know who she is, she's been in the middle of this whole Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively lawsuit, and she has such an interesting perspective. Again, we were talking about just aging in Hollywood and things that, we like to call out with people, and just a little bit behind the scenes. And she had me on her show previously as a celebrity makeup artist, talking about, again, celebrities behind the scenes and maybe ones that haven't been so nice. So if you want to check that video out, I'll definitely link it here. But the video aspect for me is pretty new. I mean, I'm a makeup artist, esthetician, former spa owner. I have a makeup and skincare line called MB York. So I've done a lot of media, but in terms of talking about things off the cuff, this is brand new. So when I did my video with Kjersti, we had first recorded hers in a very long format, conversational style. And then when we came over to mine, I introduced her to my clients, and then we switched back into conversational style. But I think it was confusing for people, and I tried to pin a comment underneath. And most people were super sweet and gave such nice comments. I did get a few nasty ones, which I wasn't prepared for, but I'm trying to work on processing things. And basically, with everything that I'm doing, with my mission, with my podcast, my new book that's coming out, I'm just trying to balance things being professional or perfect. And I just know that if I wait for things to be perfect, it's just not going to happen. So I'm just kind of learning as I go. And one of the things that somebody negatively commented on, she said, speak plainly. Don't say things like divinely orchestrated. And I had said divinely orchestrated in the context of Kjersti and I had started our podcast on the exact same date. She has had her YouTube channel for years and years. But basically, coincidentally, we both started ours on the exact same date, and we're both on, I forget if it's episode 9 or 10 every Friday. We've been putting them out. And I said to Kjersti that it's divinely orchestrated, that, she's on her mission, kind of being a whistleblower, and I've been tracking with her. It was not a big deal, but one of the things, I'm just talking candidly here, I had heard another podcast recently where somebody dropped 30 F-bombs through it, and I was like, wow. And I try to be cognizant of how my audience is perceiving me, but I also want to be authentic, because there are 20 billion pieces of content created every single day for YouTube, and there's so many creators out there, and people are welcome to choose whoever they resonate with. And so I'm just trying to throw out words that are very much in alignment with who I am. So you could either click off or stay here for it. And either way, I wish you the best. So again, a lot of what I'm sharing in my book and my podcast are behind the scenes stories with just climbing the ladder of the beauty industry. I used to own salons and spas, and as I said, I created products, and they were used on Dancing with the Stars and lots of TV sets. And I did lots of, HSN. I won a big contest with QVC for a dress that I created called Rock Your Tube. And I have a lot of business experience. So I love business. I love everything about it. It's super challenging. It's in so many elements. And I love learning new things. So I'm always on YouTube, and what I really found from Kjersti being on her show the first time that really shocked me was how amazing all of her followers were. And they just really resonated with her authenticity. So every single day, she's just kind of been putting out content and just really calling things out as a whistleblower in society, as well as this court case that she's been covering. And people really resonate with that. I feel that they want to have more voices that are authentic. So it really did inspire me, again, just to kind of find my own tribe. And with the followers that I've gotten from Kjersti, I cannot believe how amazing these women are. And I'm super lucky to have that already with my makeup clientele and my makeup clients that I've had for years and years and years. But I'm trying to grow in every aspect and share all the things that I've learned. And I do have a unique perspective, having worked on thousands of women as a makeup artist and as an esthetician. Just listening to women talk negatively about themselves. And I've been doing makeup since I was 19, and I've told this story before, but every single woman, with few exceptions, would always point out all of their flaws as soon as they sat down. And I get it, it's triggering, to have somebody looking at you, but it would just break my heart. I never once, in all the years I've been doing makeup, like 4 decades, I've never once pointed out somebody's flaws or said, well, you have this kind of a shape. We need to do this to, take away from this. I've always just done makeup that's natural, that enhances people's natural beauty. And I always am overcoming all the negative things that they say. So I build them up instead. And the transformation that you could make in a really quick 5-10 minute makeup, it's really huge. And the feedback that I've gotten for years and years of people just saying, it just gave them such a boost. So I just would, but going back to the negative comments, they would say, just you wait. This was one of the things I would hear over and over, just you wait. They would look up at me, meaning, until I get older. And I just decided back then that I would never be that way. I made a vow to myself I would never be that way. And I just will not talk negatively about myself. And granted, I'm going to say some negative things a little bit later in this video, so you'll see that I'm real. I'm not perfect, but for the most part, I kind of live, I'll say, like in my own little Barbie bubble of what I believe about myself, and I don't want to take in what everyone else thinks about it. And that's a little bit triggering coming on here on YouTube, where people can comment and be critical. But the main thing, getting back to women, is, they would look up at me and say things like, as I got like into my 40s, maybe they would say, wow, our eyes are really starting to go, aren't they? And I would be like, what? I would literally like dramatically take a step back and be like, maybe yours are, but don't bring me into your affirmations, your negative affirmations. So again, I've always been like this with being not healthy, positive. Even in my health, I had a lot of issues. I had chronic fatigue syndrome for 5 years, where I would have relapses. And I started just reading all these books because nothing would help me get better. And the main breakthrough that I had was just realizing my thoughts and how important they were. And that in my words, super powerful, that I would start to think, oh my God, I can't get sick again. I have way too much going on next week. And I would spiral into all these negative thoughts. And I just learned to correct it as soon as I would feel the symptoms coming on. I would say, no, I am healthy. I feel great. I would talk myself out of it. And I did heal myself of that. It's been gone for years and years and years. And I've just noticed it with a lot of things. Okay, think positively. This is segueing back. I have a couple little notes here so that I keep on track, but okay, so I wanted to say my video with Kjersti. Okay, we did a long format and then we switched into the shorter format, which was on my channel, which does not have a lot of followers. I haven't done much with my YouTube and I really do want to get it going. But I was literally coming off of being really sick, like with COVID. I never tested positively, but I just know that's what it had to have been because it lingered for so long. And so I did not feel good. And after I watched it, I was like, oh, I felt like I looked gray. And I really do think it's humbling too, when you're kind of let down with the vanity. I'm like, oh my God, I felt like I looked terrible. But then I'm also like, oh, well, this is like walking my talk of, we can't be perfect. But I went to get an IV. And I just was feeling so bad still. So I went and got a Myers cocktail. And after they gave me the IV, I went into the bathroom before I left the place. And I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my God, I just look sick. I felt like I looked so old. I was like, and I never talk like that. Like, you'll never hear me say that. But just being super honest, that was my thought. And when I paid and then I left, and then as soon as I pulled out of the parking lot, this car pulled in front of me. And this always happens to me if you follow me at all. I get messages all day long. It's crazy how accurate. And literally it said age, AGE, and then 211, which means think positively in my language, my universal God language. And so it was so perfect because it just reminded me that you have to think positively. And I'm like, it seems so basic, but it works, And then the next day, I think I was back at my Orange Theory class and I was walking in. Two things happened walking into Orange Theory, which I'll tell you both because they're both related to kind of beauty revival. But this woman was walking into her physical therapy place, which was a couple doors down, and she had a walker and she had some kind of a disability, like with her feet. I don't know what was wrong, but I felt really bad for her, and I held the door open, and she had the cutest, like, sparkly sneaks on, and I just inside prayed for her, and it just broke my heart. I thought, I wish I could just heal her right now. And she went in, and I'm like, I'm getting to walk in to do my Orange Theory class and go run 3 miles and lift weights, and like, this is how we have to think, not try to be so hard on ourselves if we happen to get a few more wrinkles, because society has conditioned us to think that it's not fair, that it's not allowed. And Kjersti and I talked about that on her episode, which should be dropping the same day as this on Flaawsome Talk. So hopefully you guys will check that out too. But another quick mention, I was going maybe the day after, I don't go every day, probably like every other day. I had parked my car and I got out to walk into my class and I heard the loudest crash behind me. And I was like, and I turned around and these 2 cars had crashed really, really hard together. And the one had spun around backwards and slammed into something. And I stopped and stood there, and there was a lot of other people around too that saw it. And I immediately called, the paramedics. I'm sure other people probably did too. And I was just stunned, like my whole body was shaking. And I stood there for a minute and I could see that people were okay. The one guy got out of his car. You could tell he was shook up, but I immediately said so many prayers. And I was texting with one of my clients who was ordering some products, and I know that she's Christian also. And I said to her, please come into agreement with me. I just saw the worst accident. And so we said this really long prayer, and I made it super detailed, in terms of their insurance companies and in terms of, any PTSD, just that they would not be in any pain and that their family members would be, calm and, feel peace. And so I just wanted to mention that because afterwards I thought about it. I'm like, what are the chances that it was me that was right there and I was able to pray? And like, that could have been my daughter. Immediately I texted my daughter and said, oh my God, I love you. I just saw the worst accident. Anytime there's an accident, it's somebody's husband, somebody's daughter, somebody's son. Like, it's so important to just pray. We're so powerful. And I feel like God, did have me there at that exact moment. And the other blessing was, I could have been 1 minute later and I would have been in that accident. So talk about gratefulness, it takes away all of this fear about getting older, which is, again, our society conditioning women to feel this way. Sorry, my throat is still a little dry from all of my sickness, and I'm finally better. I had another little relapse yesterday, but today I do feel a lot better. So I'm going to talk a tiny little bit about other things that can come along with feeling older or triggering birthdays and things that I've done to unhook from society and the triggering things. And one of the things that I've done is with social media. Like, I don't follow triggering people. Most of the stuff in my feed is super empowering, which one other thing, that same day after I opened the door for the lady going into the physical therapy place, I opened up my Instagram to this guy that was in a wheelchair and just had all kinds of issues. And literally he's talking about how grateful he is to be alive. And it was amazing. So my full feed is all that kind of stuff. So I've just little by little over the years, gotten rid of anything that gives me a negative feeling. And I have it all just things that are positive and uplifting. I have some funny stuff too. I'm always sending funny stuff to my daughter. So that's super important. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is just your friend group and who you're around. And I know it's different for people that are married, I think, than for women that are single. A lot of my perspectives are because I've been single for a long time, and by choice, I really love being single and independent. So I have a really kind of unique viewpoint with that. And again, as a makeup artist, listening to women, and a lot of this is how I meet most of my friends too, is, we become friends after doing their makeup or them coming into my spa or whatever have you. But I just have such a difficult time when I go out with single women and they just say over and over, how hard it is to find someone and how bad they really want to find someone. And the way I look at it is that it's a flawed premise. I feel like, again, they're doing a lot of it through not social media, but dating apps and stuff, which I think are a horrible flawed premise. Obviously it works for some people. I'm just saying, personally, I've gone on them maybe twice for 8 minutes, and I'm like, there's no way. I can't deal with multiple things at one time. And I just feel like it makes you so disposable. And I personally feel like the best way is if you can meet somebody as a friend and really get to know them as a person before you get involved with them, because it takes a year to get to know someone. And women, I watched it with so many of my friends just barrel into a relationship, and they're smitten and he's the one, and they're moving in together, and 3-4 months later it all falls apart, and then they're back on the saddle. I don't care. I know he's out there. I'm gonna find him. And I'm just like, I can see it coming every time. And again, they think if they're excited enough for both of them that it's going to work somehow. And meanwhile, they're pulling the guy along in a body bag and planning the trips and getting out there on social media and saying, I'm in a relationship and blah, blah. I just honestly can't understand it. And these are women too that, have careers and that have money. It's not like they're just doing it to have somebody pay for them. So what I think the problem is that they don't have an inner mission, and maybe their job is just their job. But when you feel like you're aligned with the mission that God has given you, then you have a purpose. And I've tried to explain this to my daughter, years ago, or at some point, she was interpreting the amount of stress I was under as me not being happy, and I'm like, bottom line, happiness, I think too, is overrated. I want peace more than I want anything. And I have purpose. And I said to my daughter, even with her, everything that I've gone through with her, which has been a lot, she's amazing and so worth everything. But, it gives me purpose. And so purpose, I think, is the number one thing that we need. And when you have purpose. And like, for example, with me, God, I felt like was really shifting me from the image first. He would show me this truck that said image first, and which has been my business. I can justify it and say, well, I only do 5-minute makeup. I do very natural kind of stuff, but it's the stuff on the inside that God really wanted me to start talking about and showing. And I have so many supernatural stories. I have so many supernatural gifts that I've talked about too, that at a lot of times could be a curse. I see everything coming beforehand. I get so much information. And it's great in a lot of regards. I get very clear yes and no answers. And I even created a miracle code, which I did a previous episode on, and I'll be talking about it again. It's also in my book, but I just learned how to create like supernatural miracles out of challenges. And I've had so much thrown at me, and I demonstrated in everything from issue with my car to finding lost animals to really scary health issues, very life and death type of stuff. So I am about like just inspiring other women to, instead of being looking outside of you for the man, to be looking inside at what God put inside of you. And I'm really good at helping you dig it out too. I just recently put a new button on my website, which is for some coaching services, because again, I have people ask me in all kinds of categories. Say hi to my daughter's cat. So I'm available for that, but you just have to like think about what is your highest joy. Like if I talk to a client or a friend, you can usually figure it out pretty quick. I feel like everybody knows, and maybe it's just something that you haven't done anything with yet. And what's super important is to take inspired action. I feel like it's one thing to know that you want something and it's like a dream out there, or if one day, if I had the time, you have to take inspired action. And I always say, like, God helps those that help themselves. I can be working on something like years ago. It could be something like with clients. You're trying to get new clients, or you're doing when you put energy into it, all of a sudden a client will come out of the blue or an employee. So it's putting your focus into it, and you just have to go after whatever your highest joy is. So for me, like, I've created this life now that I'm so excited about, that every piece helps the other piece. And I feel, again, the more that people get to know me, and the more I can tell you the stories of why I created my products and how I did and the solutions that they are, you're going to trust me a lot more than just seeing some ad that I put on Facebook or Instagram or wherever. I'm kind of a rebel the way that I do things. I've done so much that I'm super skeptical. I've hired teams to do this and to do that, and usually they have a great selling team that gets you on the call and says all the right things, and then they bring in the D-list people to actually do the job after you get going. So it's so much to be in business. It's so much to trust people in any category of your life. And I just am super excited to share my stories and the things that I've gone through, and maybe help you like skip a whole phase that you won't have to go through because I already learned it. Like, for example, with my divorce, or with being a single mom, with co-parenting, there's just so much that I learned from, again, just the parenting aspect alone, raising a daughter. I mean, there's so many challenges. So I'm kind of casting a wide net, and I hope that it makes sense to you as you follow along. I, again, want to just be somebody that tells you that whatever age you're at, it doesn't matter. I've never asked anybody their age my whole career of doing makeup, and I don't think about it. I have friends that are every age. I have a friend that just had her 40th, a good friend. I have a good friend that just had her 50th. I have another really good friend that's 82, that's been my friend for like 30 years. And to me, it doesn't matter. And I also feel like everything by design, the way God designed it, is really perfect, because I don't even like say you're losing your looks, but let's just say as your youth fades. That's perfect by design, because it's by design. Youth is connected to your fertility, which is connected to finding a mate to, by design, get married, have a family, and live happily ever after. When you go against that whole grain and you're in your 50s or whatever age and you're leading with your sexuality in every category, that your every Instagram post is your bathing suit or whatever, that's doing everyone a disservice, because it really is perpetuating a lie. And the lie that it's looking is that this is what's important, and that's not what's important. And when you come into an agreement with the lie, that's where all the suffering happens. And part of my miracle code is the truth, the lie, and the miracle. When you align with the truth, that's where you get your miracle. And the truth is, you need to see yourself through God's eyes, not through the narcissistic men on dating apps that prefer women in their 20s. You need to see yourself as a mature woman that has lived a life, that has learned things, and that can actually give back, that there's stuff inside of you that is a gift that God put inside of you for a reason, so that you can give back and make society a better place. Which, talk about peace. At the end of the day, when you're living in that alignment and you go to bed, you're gonna sleep really deeply, instead of being with some man that's triggering you because he's not treating you how you should be and making you doubt your self-worth. I say I will choose peace over romance any day of the week. It trumps it in every category, in my opinion. I do feel like when you're in alignment in that category, you're going to attract a different person. And if it's in God's plan for you and there's a man for you, he may not be coming until you're aligned and you start doing these things. So it's a win-win. So anyways, I hope it didn't sound like a big lecture. It's more what I feel is just trying to inspire you and see your own beauty. And when you look in the mirror and criticize anything with your makeup or your skin, stop. Just stop. You know, if you're dry, like, get a better moisturizer, get hydrated, go do a little makeup. Makeup really does pick you up. There's things you can do on the exterior that do help, but just start focusing on what can I do today that will bring me one step closer to my mission, which is going to give you so much fulfillment inside. So again, thank you so much for checking out my channel. Oh, and one last thing I want to say, I forgot this. I call it the retreat effect. Okay, when you're on social media, you're seeing all these things, movies, everything is showing you, you're supposed to look a certain way, you're not allowed to get older. You have to retreat and reset and unplug from all of those things. The friend groups that are doing their Cabo trip, all with their 16-hour-a-day workout beach bodies and their $2,000 beach bags, you need to take them off of your social media and you need to fill it with something else that's more in alignment. You have to have a friend group that supports that. So I went to Europe once for a month with my daughter. When you unplug from our society and then you come back a month later, you see the US completely different. You know, how huge everything is, our bathrooms and our closets and our grocery stores. And, you know, when you're just looking through this little lens of, I don't know what this society in USA says about women and aging, it is really triggering. You need to just go on a week-long hike, get out in nature, fill your content with stuff that tells you the opposite, and detox from all of that, okay? And your perspective will change. It will reframe everything for you. So that's it. I hope that helped. I hope that you'll stick around. Again, my website is nbyork.com if you want to check out any of my products. My little coaching link is on there. My book that's coming out, Beauty Revival, I'm so excited. It's in the very, very final stages. I'm just like approving the book cover right now. And it's going to be available both on Amazon, on Kindle and all of that. And I'm self-publishing it in print. And so I cannot wait for that. And it keeps me busy. It keeps me out of trouble. It keeps me out of happy hour and drinking too much wine. So go out there and make it a great day and be valuable to society. Okay? Thank you.